on the Diesel is back at you here with my reaction to Super Bowl 56. Fantastic game all the way around as the Rams win 23-20 here. Now they are 2-2 in the Super Bowl as the Cincinnati Bengals fall to 0-3 all time in the Super Bowl. Let's get into it here. Joe Burrow, great game, 22-33, 263 yards. That crazy touchdown to T. Higgins to start off the second half. This is something I mentioned in my last video if you saw it. If they get more than 5-6 sacks, this was going to be a problem, and it happened. But let's give a little credit to the Cincinnati offensive line here. They only gave up 1 sack in the first half, and it was really after that T. Higgins bomb that to start the second half is where things started to go wrong for this offensive line. And you give credit to Sean McVay and the defensive scheme of the LA Rams that finding their way to get to Joe Burrow and creating some havoc. Now, speaking of Joe Burrow, sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl, ties the Super Bowl record. Then you have the all-time postseason record by Joe Burrow. He was sacked 19 times in this postseason. And then he had the fourth most sacks all time in a season in 70. He got sacked 70 times. I'm not lying on you. 51 times in the regular season, 19 times in the postseason, 70. He got sacked 70 times, which tells you this Cincinnati Bengals offense this offseason needs to go all in on this offensive line. They have over $48 million in cap space, which is 4th most in the NFL this offseason. They need to go all in on this offensive line because to think if Joe Burrow had an offensive line that could protect him, and he was able, I'm telling you, this would have been a completely different ballgame. Like I said, Cincinnati's got to go all in with the offensive line. They got the money and the cap space to do it this offseason. They need to do it so they could get Joe Burrow back to the Super Bowl. But I give credit to Cincinnati's offensive line that first half. They played great. They only sacked him once. Now, on the other side, we look at Stafford. Stafford was on the verge of a mental breakdown in this ball game. Start up the game great. I mean, he missed 1 out of his first 12 passes, threw for 2 touchdowns. He had that interception, which was definitely on him. I mean, you send Van Jefferson to the back corner of the end zone. You're running towards the side, your own sideline, and you try and throw it almost kind of like a sidearm throw, and he completely underthrew it, gets picked off by Jesse Bates. We're going to get to that because not only the interception was a huge momentum changer, but then at the same time, though, you have the stupidity in the non-uniform player that jumps off the bench, off the sideline, and gets into the celebration, and they get called for a 10-yard penalty. So instead of being on the 20-yard line and having all the momentum, you're on the 10-yard line, and you practically just gave the momentum right back to the LA Rams in that defense because now they think they can stall you and they can make you punt and they can get great field position off the punt. So a complete brain lapse in the Cincinnati Bengals there in terms of that player getting off the field. That's on the coaching staff as well. You can't have boneheaded plays like that in the Super Bowl because the other team will make you pay for it, and especially the LA Rams and what they have. But Stafford, he was rattled after he threw that first interception, and he threw the second interception after T. Higgins' touchdown. And I really thought LA's in trouble here because now give the defense of the Rams some credit. They only held them to a field goal, and they kept it at 20 points for them. So obviously we knew the Rams were going to do that. Let's be honest here. But Stafford was completely rattled. He was on the verge of a complete mental breakdown after he threw that second interception. Give credit to the Cincinnati defense. They forced 2 interceptions. The starting running backs here with Sony Michel and Cam Akers, they didn't even allow 50 yards on the ground. Cam Akers, 13 carries, 21 yards. He didn't even average 2 yards a carry, 1.5 yards a carry. You give Cincinnati's defense a lot of credit. They kept them in this ball game as well. I know we can talk about Cooper Kupp. We know he's the MVP. 8 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. The fantastic touchdown at the end of that 15-play drive, which will go down as one of the greatest all-time drives in Super Bowl history. You got OBJ, who was balling in the first half with 2 catches, 52 yards, and that touchdown. And then He comes down with that non-contact knee injury, and there's fear in LA that it could be an ACL tear. In the same knee, he tore that ACL in October of 2020. So, unfortunately, OBJ, it comes at a price, and OBJ is possibly going to be out for majority of next season, which is unfortunate. But with that being said, Joe Mixon on the other side, 15 carries, 72 yards. I mean, they rushed the ball for almost 90 yards in this game, Cincinnati, against a team that doesn't even give up 60 yards on the ground. Like, that's how good this Rams defense is in the run game. And then Joe Mixon with the passing touchdown. His first ever pass in his NFL career goes for a touchdown to T. Higgs. I mean, Higgins, 4 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 89 yards. What a catch he had in that first quarter there, that 46-yard bomb over Jalen Ramsey, one-handed grab. Fantastic. That set the tone for the game right there because we knew there were going to be big offensive plays there. Let's get to a more serious question. Did the refs blow this game? Absolutely, they blew this game. For 58 minutes and 13 seconds, they did 3 combined penalties in 58 minutes, 13 seconds. They let these guys play. I know there was the missed call with T. Higgins in the face mask on Ramsey. There was some missed calls throughout this ballgame, but they let them play. And that's what we want as fans. We want them to play like this. We want them to let them play and not take control of a game and call 15, 20 penalties. And then the last 2 minutes of the ballgame happened, and they called 3 penalties. They called penalties on 3 straight plays. 4 penalties. One of the plays happened to be offsetting penalties, one against both teams. They called penalties on 3 straight plays in 9 seconds. 4 penalties in 9 seconds. And ultimately that leads to the Cooper Kupp touchdown on the back shoulder throw from Stafford. The holding call against Wilson on 3rd and goal is the call that gave this game away. That was the call because Wilson did not if he pulled Cooper Kupp's jersey, he barely pulled it. I'm telling you, you watch that I watched that replay 6, 7, 8 times. I still can't believe they made that call. It was one of the most horrific calls I've seen in a game, and this is where I wish that they could overturn calls like this because that was one of the worst calls in Super Bowl history. That costed Cincinnati their first championship. That's what that costed right there. And then I know you had the call against, I'm trying to remember who it was, but, there was a defensive holding call in the end zone 2 plays later. That one was a little bit more obvious. Like, he definitely held Cooper Kupp there, but still debatable because it was happening on both sides of the football. I'm just saying, there's 2 sides to every street, two sides to every coin. You got to be kidding me, right? There's a lot of plays throughout this game that could have been called, could have not have been called. And of course they make calls. And a lot of my friends were saying it after the game. Cincinnati lost to the refs. They didn't lose to the Rams. They lost to the refs. The refs took control of this ball game late. And that's what ended up costing them the game. And reason why people root for Cincinnati, because everyone knows, look at that stadium. And SoFi Stadium, you talk about $5 billion stadium, and it's in LA, which is a high market place. You don't get these small market teams, and that's why most people were rooting for Cincinnati to win, because it's just you want to see the small market teams win, for example, Milwaukee and the Phoenix in the NBA Finals. 2 small market teams make it to the finals is awesome because you always see New York, you see LA. It's just it gets annoying, it gets obnoxious, to watch these big name teams. And I still think, the $1 million question is Stafford now a Hall of Famer? I mean, granted, yes, he is 12th all time in passing yards with just under 50,000 passing yards. But he has 1 Pro Bowl, and I know I said this in my last video, and I'm going to completely be a hypocrite and go against it because I said Matthew Stafford should be a Hall of Famer. Not with the credentials he has. You finally, this is his 2nd postseason. Yes, you win a Super Bowl, but that's because you're stacked on the offense. You're stacked on the defense, most importantly. And then on top of that, you have, and then on top of that, you've been selected to one Pro Bowl. Now, I will say this, to Matthew Stafford's defense, there's been 2 or 3 like the one year he was selected to the Pro Bowl was in 2004, and he had like 23 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. 2 seasons later, in 2005, he had almost 40 passing touchdowns and like 11 interceptions. He had a way better season 2 seasons later, and he did get selected to the Pro Bowl. So it's just like there's give and take on that too as well. There's some questionable things there on who's selecting these guys for the Pro Bowl when Matthew Stafford had some seasons where he could have been selected to be in the Pro Bowl and he wasn't selected. So I'm a little bit mad about that. Hall of Famer, because he's been selected to the Pro Bowl one time in his 13-year career, number one. Number two, he's not even been MVP of the league. When you have someone like Matt Ryan, who has been MVP of the league, Matt Ryan should be considered more of a Hall of Famer than Matthew Stafford right now. Now, there's still a lot of time left for both of them. Especially Matt Stafford. He's 33, 34 years old. He's got a few more seasons left in the tank to rewrite the script in his career and possibly become a Hall of Famer. I think if Matthew Stafford finds his way into the top 5 all-time in passing, I think that's where he could be more considered as a Hall of Famer. But to only have 1 Pro Bowl in 13 seasons, and Matt Ryan has way more Pro Bowls than that, I'm just saying, I think I'm going to pick Matt Ryan over Stafford in terms of who's more of a Hall of Famer right now. So I'm a complete hypocrite, but thank you guys again so much for your time. If you guys have not already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't done that. I thank you guys so much again for your time. I will see all your faces in the next one. Deuces.